Welcome back to Lush Life, No Labels. I'm Michelle and excited to talk today about what I'm calling lifestyle investments. The story of the week is so recently I ordered a new color of a pair of pants I've had for years, but I noticed that the material is much thinner and the quality is much worse than the pair that I still have. It's been years since I bought my first pair, but it kind of bummed me out. It's from the same company. So I was pretty surprised at that change. But it did make me think about how over the last few months, I've become more passionate about investing in quality materials that I wear and use. And I consider this a quote unquote lifestyle investment because although we don't talk about this type of investment very much compared to investing in the stock market or real estate, we do wear our clothes every day of our lives. And any clothes we buy are, by definition, an investment that we hope to keep wearing. Now, my main issue with a lot of materials that I've been seeing in the clothing tags, materials like polyester, acrylic, or viscose, is that they're synthetic materials made out of plastic. I didn't notice this before, and I didn't really know as much about these types of materials. But I gotta say, I've been reading clothing tags and looking at fabric composition for a while now. And these materials are in a lot of places that are pretty popular. That means they aren't meant to be used for a long time because they are synthetic. And oftentimes they start breaking off or losing color after 1 to 2 washes, at least in my experience. Plus, because they're made of synthetic material, they're not biodegradable. So they won't break down naturally over time. And Netflix actually had a documentary recently called Buy Now that talks about overconsumerism in fashion specifically and the unfortunate consequences of these practices. It's hard to recycle these plastics. So when they're eventually thrown out because they broke or because there's something wrong, they can't be recycled and they go to a waste dump and or end up in the ocean and wash up on other countries' shores. To me, that's a waste of money because if I buy something, especially clothes, I don't want to have to replace it in a month. That is a bad investment for me and a waste of money. A good investment to me lasts multiple years, or at the very least, it's got to last at least a year if I buy a t-shirt or something like that. Organic and natural materials like wool, cotton, or linen last through many, many washes, and the fabric keeps its structure. I've also noticed that the stitching is better on those types of clothes. The unfortunate part is that I would say not even just fast fashion, but any fashion company, a lot of them have been taking shortcuts, and I do think the quality of materials have decreased overall. So it is harder to find these quality materials. These natural materials aren't always cheap, but that's where the investment comes in, right? I'm spending a certain amount of money on this and hoping to keep it for a long time. So I end up saving money because I'm not having to replace it all the time. It's sort of a one-time purchase that I can use over and over again. So let's say I buy work pants for $50 made out of 100% polyester. I'll probably notice it shrinking or losing color after 1 or 2 washes. But if I invest more money and pay $80 for pants made out of cotton, that's more likely going to last me much longer. Yes, the natural fabric was more pricey, but I will have much more use out of this in the long run. I made up those numbers, but you get the point. The other thing too is that non-synthetic materials aren't always more expensive. So it's good to shop around when you want to buy something new. I'm happy that this is an area of my life that I've decided to spend more time in researching so that I can make better decisions on the clothes that I buy. And to me, it'll make me feel like I'm actually doing a better investment. So I'm going to continue to make an effort when I buy clothes and other fabrics. Another type of lifestyle investment I don't think is talked about enough is our investment in our time. Recently, I was invited to an event that was a little over an hour from where I live via the train. I'm a pedestrian for those who know me, and I don't have a car. One choice that I had was to take the train for an hour to this 1 hour event and then take the train back. I did not want to choose that option because it meant a 2 hour round trip just to be at the place for less time. So I opted to Uber instead. The Uber took less than half of the time the train would have taken, and I was able to do other things with the time that I saved. In that situation, spending the money while being more productive was a better investment than just taking the train. As people, I feel like we're always investing our time in one way or another, right? Every 24 hours, some of us invest our time in working a 9 to 5. Then we have a few hours to ourselves in the evening, and then we invest the rest of that time to sleep. Then rinse and repeat until you have a day off. Other folks have gone the entrepreneurial route. And since they're founders who run their own businesses, they sort of decide when and how to invest their working time. People with some time in the evenings may decide to invest that time in a hobby they like or making money through a side hustle. For me, I spend time doing hobbies or recording this podcast, for example. It's just something that I want to spend my time doing. But in the past, I've also tutored for money as a side hustle. So I think in the past I've definitely invested my time well. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just sit around and not do anything, which is kind of why I'm bringing this up because one of the things that I'm trying to do is invest my time better. If there's a new skill that I want to learn, I'd rather spend time now learning that skill and solidifying myself with that. So for example, if there's something, let's say I want to get better at Excel for my career, spending time on that now puts me in a better spot in the future for a promotion or just to apply to a different position that requires that skill, even if it means I'm not going out every weekend. I've sort of replaced that time and decided to invest it in learning versus investing in socializing to set myself up for the future. In the situation I described where I decided to Uber, I was able to do some cleaning during the hour and a half that I saved by not taking the train. For me, that was time well spent. And in a case like that, I did spend money to free up my time, which in the society we live in is pretty common. It's similar to ordering groceries for delivery, where you save time by not having to go to the grocery store yourself. In those cases, we decide how we want to spend our time after work or on the weekends. Sometimes, though, we don't have total control of our time. For example, if we need to be at work at a certain time, there's less flexibility in that. However, sometimes we do spend too much time on things we feel obligated to do or would rather not do. For example, maybe there's an after work event that I don't feel like going to because I've already spent all day at work. But I may feel like I should go because I work in corporate and sometimes those things matter. For those, if I truly don't want to go, I just make up an excuse and don't go. Or sometimes I decide, you know what, let me go for 30 minutes to an hour and then I'm going to dip. It really depends on how I want to spend my time. But I do think in some cases we can try to figure out maybe there's a little compromise here. Maybe I don't need to give all this time to something that I don't really care about. One area I'm actively working to improve is my screen time. Y'all, I gotta admit, I be spending a lot of time scrolling through the internet, but I want to get it together. I want to spend more time reading. For example, there's a lot of books that I haven't even opened up. If I didn't spend so much time on my phone, I could actually get through those. I'm excited though to rethink about how I spend my time overall because there are a bunch of things that I want to do and learn about. So I can use my time for those things and stop using it for the things that I don't find are fulfilling to me. I'm glad I'm actually thinking about these more unconventional types of investments because everyone talks about investing money and all of that, and I understand it, but I challenge us all to think about what other types of investments are there? What other things are we either giving our energy or our money or our time to? And how can we reevaluate that to make sure that what we do is fulfilling for ourselves and we don't feel like we're wasting ourselves or our own time. So I'll wrap it up there for today. One question I do have is there something you want to spend more time on? If so, how are you going to reallocate your time to fit into your weekly schedule? Thanks for listening. Follow me on Instagram at Lush Life No Labels _ pod for updates on new episodes. Again, new episodes will be every Thursday or Friday. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.